Oh my word. Talk about dedication in December, and we've got you yet again for episode 57. My name's Avnish Hegde, and of course, as you can see me, joining us always is Nikhil Popat and Akshay Kumar Swami. And boy, how are you in terms of all the stuff which is going on, not just in cricket.com, but generally, December being a kind month to everyone. Good to see you boys after 100k. It feels nice. Akshay?
Yeah, it definitely feels nice. Got to celebrate it with, of course, the team. We cut some cake, ate some cake, enjoyed it with each other, of course, first of any such milestones, hopefully. So, yeah, really thrilled about it, and especially happy that it happened, in sort of the same year as we hit 50k. March mein humne 50 hit kiya. Now second 50 is coming very quickly, compounding and its effects, of course. So, yeah, really happy about it.
Yeah, talking about going from first gear to second and third, we've literally done that, and hopefully you guys can jump on the bandwagon and subscribe to us right now. Next, how's everything back in India? I say that because I've been a globetrotter for the last 2 weeks.
Good. At least somebody is traveling well. If you know, you know. So that is good. Have a good time, and yeah, it's good this season for cricket. Plenty of matches happening at different times of the day. So again, something to just cherish, and so glad to be part of this journey. And it's been a good SIP, systematically investing in our planning also to create good content. So yeah, onwards and upwards, as Ramanathan puts it.
Perfect. And good to see all the cool cats in the chat. Keep your comments coming through. We'll take all of them because, like the thumbnail suggests, there's so much to tuck into. Even though I was sporadically watching the pink ball test, I mean, it got over so quickly. I'm thinking to myself, like, how can India not bat longer than an ODI and a test match? We'll break it down for you in terms of all the numbers and all of that. But guys, generally, what's been the mood in terms of back home? Because I know in Sri Lanka, when I was watching the game during my best friend's wedding, they were celebrating. And I think they liked the fact that, India was just getting crumbled. And in Thailand, I haven't really heard anything, and I've just been reading all the news. So what is it after this defeat for India and Adelaide, Akshay, and how has the country taken it?
How has the country taken it? I mean, that's going to be a very loaded question to try and answer. But of course, given that we won the first test unexpectedly, there were a lot more hopes from the side. And it is almost very annoying to see the way we've batted, especially in this test. Of course, we will get into the nitty-gritties of what we saw over there. In fact, Nikhil also did that yesterday with Somesh and Vikas. But all in all, the mood right now is not necessarily upbeat. But the reality is before the test series began, if someone told me, ki, boss, you'll be going to Brisbane at a 1-1 scoreline, I'd have been like, haan, ye chalega mere ko, de do. Pink ball test, any which ways, Australia haven't really lost too many pink ball tests. So given their record, there was expected that they will come hard at this, given how badly they lost the first test. And come hard they did. Manas Labushin with that fantastic knock as well. I mean, good to see him come back in form. Our bowling left a lot of room to desire. So did the captaincy. So was the batting. It was a bad test. It's one of those tests that we hope India is able to forget and move on. Fingers crossed for that as well.
Yeah, indeed. I'll come to Nix's thoughts because I did manage to catch that podcast, like you just said, the Hindi one, which is available on YouTube. Go check it out. Vikas and Somesh spoke about it. Somesh spoke about his beloved Rohit Sharma. So did Nilesh Kulkarni in Unwind, which got apparently a lot of traction in terms of me being able to control my laughter. And I was, to be fair. So Nilesh, sir, if you're watching this, come on. Surely in hindsight, you want to have a look and think about that opinion. Good to see Om Prakash Dash, Noodle Hacks with Vasant, and Greg in the comments. Greg, in fact, going on to say, also play pink ball test. We play once in 4 years. The result was expected. Yeah, I mean, it just makes you think how special that Shamar Joseph performance was, because that was the only loss against Australia in the pink ball format. And speaking of the pink ball format, now Travis Head has got another bunny literally ticked in terms of red ball, pink ball, white ball, pretty much everything. Right. There's questions coming in for Akshay and Nix. We'll save them. And if you guys don't know the drill, of course, we'll handle them in the 12th man section as well. Lots to talk about, including the SMAT, which Noodle Hacks points out. But Nix, in the grander scheme of things, 1-1, 3 tests to play, 10 tests left in the WTC. Is it now slipping away from India's hands, especially after this defeat? Or you still think anything can happen?
I mean, if these 2 tests can tell you anything can and should happen. And which is also why I have dumped the pink ball. Enough of it. More than happy to just keep it out locked for maybe the next year, not directly. As Akshay said, I would happily take it at the start of the season. If you told me that if you go to Gaba 1-all, absolutely boiled, because you have to realize these two were India's toughest test. Earth with the bounce and ping ball being ping ball. So if you have even one of them, it's a very good place to be in. Yes, the reaction will always be extremes that, oh, we were thinking 4-1 and whatnot after first test, and now we're thinking 4-1 and we're thinking 3-1 the other way. But that's okay. That's just part of the game. In terms of WTC, again, not that bothered. I think for me, the BJT is right up there in terms of what I want to first get through. And WTC, if it happens, it happens. And which way South Africa are doing well. And if they are doing well, might as well go on and win, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, you mentioned the Proteas, and let me just give you a fun fact, because South Africa did really well to pull off those 2 wins against Sri Lanka. And what it's done for them is, of course, they get one more Akshay. They, of course, go to Lords in June next year. And then I think this BGT is almost like whoever wins it kind of big probably enters that final with South Africa. So do you think now India and Australia will look at Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney as pretty much, I don't know, the build up to the WTC final proper?
That way, Australia at least have a couple more tests, after the series. For India, it's of course all or nothing here. If they don't do well in the series, they just go back home, literally and otherwise. Not necessarily the case with Australia. As things stand, if I'm not wrong, a 4-1 result in India's favor will see them go through without them having to depend on any other result. Anything below that, 3-1, 3-2, 2-2, anything, and they will have to wait for the Sri Lanka-Australia series and the South Africa-Pakistan series to end. And based on how the results happen there, will India be able to sort of see if they go through? So for India, it's definitely an all or nothing kind of situation. But again, like Nikhil Bhai said, I don't think India will be focusing too much on the WTC final right now. Series jeetna, series mein acha karna. If they are able to do that, then rest assured they will be able to go through to the WTC final as well. And given how the second test has happened, I'm pretty sure now the focus will be just on the third test and not necessarily ki boss June mein hum log Lords mein khelenge ki nahi.
The bigger questions now has come, of course, Rohit Sharma's way, because Bumrah led India to victory, not with Paul, but as a captain as well in Perth. Nick, what are your thoughts on it? Because I know I kind of, like I was telling you, whizzed through the podcast that you was doing with Vikas and Som in the Hindi thing. But now, what does Rohit need to do? First as a captain, and more importantly as a batter, because he's changed his position, but similar results.
I think I spoke about, I had a lot of rants yesterday for a change. So good to get that out of the system. And again, those rants were on controllables. I think India will always going to be up against it in the pink ball. And you could see the plans being troublesome for both in terms of Rohit the batter and Rohit the captain. Now, let's talk about the captaincy first now. You've seen this enough. We saw that in the home series as well, that some of the times your plans are not quite adequate for what you are about to face. And that is something that's completely beyond me, that today one guy is bothering you since 2 years. How do you not have 50,000 plans? How?
Yeah.
How are you thinking that we'll just get him out the one way? You've seen in the WTC that final, you got him out of the short one. I'm not saying you'll bowl short 6 balls in a row. Try one. How many did you try? To me, it's been a pattern that's repeated, and I said this in the live yesterday as well, that sometimes you can be an instinctive captain in a white ball format because you know you have time on your hand, because the time is very limited for the batter to make an impact. But that's not the case in white ball format. In the white ball format, you have to at times make things happen. It sounds cliche, but it is what it is. You have to be able to use your resources far better. And if India are in a situation now that Australia think that we just have to take care of Bumrah and we're done, it's not a good place to be in. We'll have to find more options to just be in the game for a lot longer. So pink ball test with the ball, there was lots to be desired, whether it was the first session or what after Bumrah and Siraj. We discussed this in the last minute, that your pairing will have to be right. Harshit had an off game. But is it only Harshit's fault? What were your plans when Travis Head came? If you had to manage Bumrah better, fair enough. Bumrah is precious. You have to preserve his overs. Then what are your other plans? So, to me, not surprised, but I don't know who to be held accountable, because it's not just captaincy. I would also blame the bowling. If you as a bowler get hit for 3 sixes in a Sunday game in your outdoors, you're going to be having thoughts that how do I capture this out the next time? But why is it not being done from India's front that you don't see plans? See, I'm okay with false execution. That can happen. You tried, he still scored. But have you tried enough? That is my query with India.
I remember even at the start of this year that when India were playing England, Nick's kind of got some slack for kind of just choosing Stokes as a better test captain than Rohit at the time. And I think it was fully valid. It still stands the test of time, and he's vindicated in that decision. And that's what I kind of get annoyed with is Rohit, the test captain, Akshay. He doesn't do anything off the cuff in terms of what we've seen him do in T20s. I know our good friend Gurkirat said, even as a T20 captain, he's overrated because he has Bumrah to back him up and all of that. But the numbers also don't back him up in terms of his short test match career as a captain. 22, which is a handful, some would say, but just 8 defeats out of 22 also stinks in terms of, oh my God, it doesn't really reflect well. So now my question to you is, how much is this going to be a make or break for him as a captain in the next 3 tests? Because I think if India lose the next, or potentially even the Melbourne one, there'll be a lot of questions, and I think it'll be very unsavory for Rohit.
To be honest, I'm surprised that there aren't enough questions being asked right now. I don't think I want to wait for another loss or another test match.
That's because of his PR agency, right?
Sure, I mean, clearly you were also part of the whole bandwagon. But yeah, coming back to Rohit Sharma and of course this captaincy. Let's start with the captaincy, but I completely agree. And this is something we've discussed earlier as well, even during the IPL. What's sort of been a very common theme with Rohit Sharma's captaincy has been that they've got fantastic plan E's. Like, I know I'll probably be talking about IPL, but the same example or the same theory can be extended to his captaincy as India's captain as well, in terms of how he's gone about. Plan A's हमेशा अच्छा रहता है. We're not doubting them or judging them, but you need to understand plan A's are done in the back room with the entire staff. पूरा वहां पे रहते हैं लोग, अच्छे से बात करते हैं, डिस्कस करते हैं, अरे भाई इसको ऐसे करना है, इसको वैसे करना है, and all of that. But once something happens on the field where he's expected to adapt, where he's expected to think on the go, that's where he's been found wanting. Even in this test, Manas Labuschagne, the way he played, again, kudos to him. It was a chanceless knock the way he played. It's not like he gave too many opportunities to India. That's great on his part, given how he had a very torrid run of 10, 12 innings where he wasn't able to even score past 20 runs. So given that, good on him. But the way, Rohit Sharma used his bowlers against Labuschagne made you wonder, chal kya raha, and how are you sort of planning on getting him out? And then, of course, head ki to yaar, kya hi bole yaar. Short pitch deliveries, sure, is one thing that we've all discussed. But उसके अलावा भी तुम देखो तो सही बंदा क्या खेल रहा है, कहाँ खेल रहा है. न्यू बॉल के साथ तुम full straight पैर पे डालो. Probably, yeah, the bowlers also equally at fault or even more at fault. But as skipper, तुम क्या करो भाई? जाके बात कर लो, देख लो कि तुम करना क्या चाहते हो. Just, pause the game, take a break, try something. The way Ashwin was underused, we've always spoken about how Rohit Sharma almost invariably ends up underusing his 4th/5th bowler. That was again the case in Adelaide. I mean, I don't know what the reason was, but pehle din mein to laga nahi. I know Ashwin wasn't available for the first 20 odd overs, but the usage or the lack of it rather of Ashwin was really baffling. And again, in terms of the 11, sure, I wouldn't put that against him. But all in all, captaincy yaar मेरे बहुत ही, I'll say basic, to be polite, बहुत ही basic लगी. I mean, you would expect more from the India skipper, especially given, like Nikhil bhai said, Travis Head is a known suspect. ऐसा नहीं कि पहली बार ही खेल रहा है. इतनी बार खेल चुका है, इतनी बार हमारे ऊपर अच्छा कर चुका है. That number was staggering, yaar. Travis Head versus India when Rohit Sharma was captain, 3 innings or 3 matches, 3 centuries. And when Rohit Sharma hasn't played 25 or 28 innings, 0 centuries, averages 26 or 27 or something. I mean, I'm not making too much of those numbers itself, but it definitely is symptomatic of a greater problem.
100%. There are lots of comments coming through, by the way. Santosh Shuruppa, who's the Australian fan, we all know that, saying, would you bring in left-arm pacer? May need to tackle Travis Head. We'll speak about that in the 12th man section, indeed. For Head, out of 140 balls, 5 well-directed short balls, not even 10%, only 3% poor planning. Pant and Rohit staring at each other like SRK and Kajol after the catch went between them. It was so embarrassing, saying Ashutosh Bajpai. And Damodar Banla saying, Virat Rohit should step up. This is literally the 4th or 5th tour for them. They knew the conditions well, but Nitish has high scored at 3 out of 4 innings. I mean, I still kind of back Virat, to be fair, because he's got that 100, and he was the first one of everyone apparently to go and get some net game practice right after that defeat. So look, I have no concerns with Virat. I know people will shoot me in the comments saying, oh, he's a Virat fanboy and stuff like that. But coming back to Rohit, when we say we expect more from the captaincy front, I generally think that field sets, just the fact that he can just be more talkative to his bowlers. We saw even Virat kind of adjust a few fields, and I was like, what's happening there? Come on. So let's see how it goes. Funny thing is, I set an alarm, right, of a cricket thing, MNL episode. And I was just like, because we're so late into the day in Thailand, I was just like keeping that on as well. Right. From Rohit, let's talk about his team and how it's been collapsing, because I cannot stand it or stomach it as an Indian fan. Just take a look at this. Lowest batting average for India since 2020. And well, they all are part of the larger scheme as well. But what I want to show you is another particular depiction, which I think we have on our social media. But what I want to tell you all, Akshay, is the fact that if you look at India's balls per wicket since 2024, something like that, September, Bangladesh are the only ones who worse off with us. So we've had collapse after collapse after collapse, from Pune to Perth to Wankhede to Bengaluru to Adelaide. How do we arrest it? And how does Gautam Gambhir just tell these boys, bat time, for crying out loud?
Yeah, this is actually something we've discussed then in one of our earlier episodes. There aren't too many players in this current Indian setup that you would trust to play deliveries, just to, absorb pressure and hang in there. Good on KL and Jaiswal for, doing that in the first test match. But once they failed, there was no one in the middle order who was willing to, just bide their time. And that is a very important skill in this. We've heard of how Manas Labuschagne himself spoke about the fact that he wants to emulate what Pujara did for India in the 2020 DGT, and he's done that to a great extent. Even in the first test, I know he wasn't amongst the runs, but I did mention the fact that, 2 of 52, as the number 3, I know the 2 runs don't really count for much, but the fact that he was able to hang in there for 50 balls, as scratchy as it might sound or it might look, who cares? At the end of the day, he's gotten the job done to some extent at least. It just takes me back to this theory of sorts that Lisa Stalekar put out during a series India-Australia game. She was just talking about why Indian batters bat the way they do across. She was probably talking about women's cricket, but I feel you can use that example for men's cricket as well. She just spoke about how with Indian batters, the emphasis seems to be on looking good, not on hanging in there or being effective. That's not the case in Australia or say even in New Zealand. Beg your pardon, this was Sophie Devine, not Lisa Stalekar. This was Sophie Devine who was speaking about this. And she mentioned how in India, the focus is always on being technically right, looking good with their drives, looking good with their, front foot defense. Farak nahi padta hai. You might have the most beautiful of cover drives, but if you're not scoring the runs, if you aren't being valuable to your side, it doesn't matter. She just spoke about how in Australia, scratchy runs, not scratchy runs, no one cares. As long as there are runs on the board, that's all that matters. As long as there's wickets on the board, that's all that matters. Maybe that focus even with the Indian side, to some extent, in terms of looking good and the way they play, they look very pleasant. They look very aesthetic. Maybe somewhere down the line, they've lost the art of just bunting the ball and playing it there. Pujara himself wasn't the most beautiful of batters, to put it very simply or crudely, but he got the job done, yaar. He got Hazelwood to say कि यार मेरे को इसका चेहरा नहीं दिखना है, मेरे को रात को सपने में इसका चेहरा आ रहा है, मेरे को नहीं दिखना है, and that's all that matters. So I hope that they are able to develop the skill, because it's not something that can be done overnight or over a series. So it will take some time. Jaiswal and Rahul have shown that, so I just hope they are able to do it once again come Brisbane.
Yeah, it's batting time in the longest format, and that's what's the larger concern. Because even if you look at world cricket right now, and I understand, because the IPLs come into every cricketer's mindset, it's almost like they want to play a shot at some things. And it's not like how it was yesteryears. You look at even England, New Zealand, which we'll talk about in the best of the rest, in terms of how little time England batted. They got the runs, but that's a different story. The fact that no one's really biding their time out there, and we've lost people like Pujara, which we just need, a glue and the rock in the game. Before I come to next, a lot of people have in their comments, please like this video quickly, because we're doing this, like I said, December dedication, and there's fantastic things to come on cricket.com. So please quickly like this, and I'll take all your comments, including Ramna Kiran's, Adyan Singhal's, Freaking Awesome, and Ashutosh Pachpa, and plenty more as well. Remember, if you guys are just joining us, we're asking you a bunch of things on the pod tonight. And the MNL question is, did India lack bowling plans in Adelaide? Which we'll just touch upon right now, because Akshay spoke about it, Nick spoke about it right now, and in the Hindi show, you guys can go check it out. But so far, let's just take a look at some of the stats in terms of what went on in two of these tests, first at Adelaide and then at Perth. And it's kind of different numbers, understandably. And it just makes you think how India can bounce back in Brisbane, given that it is going to be another spicy pitch in the reckoning. Paces in the first innings, Perth 2024, you can tell by how they adjusted their lengths, whether it was Indian pacers or, of course, India's and the economies, so on and so forth. So it just gives you an impression of how the pacers had their tails up in Perth, but they really kind of reality struck them in Adelaide, and hopefully they get the job done in Brisbane. Right. So let's ask next then, what can India do to kind of just improve their bowling weaponry for Brisbane? Would you make any changes?
I changed my vision, and I think that is something even India will have to do, because it's been a problem that India have had since quite some time. I had an absolute rant yesterday on the same thing. How it is one thing to struggle once to find the right lane. It is fine. You look at these numbers. Adelaide Oval, Perth, you had to hit the wickets. You did that 25% of times. The key factor here is left alone. Left alone in Perth is 18%. In Adelaide Oval, 27%. And most of it, majority of it, came under lights with the pink ball. I completely buy the point that inexperience with the pink ball came to the fore, 100% sure. But then what was your preparation? You had 8 days. Everybody who was there around, we heard the curator also say that you'll have to bowl a bit fuller than your normal good length, because Adelaide Oval has a good bounce, it has good carry. So, and the pink ball is hard. So it will, if you bowl good length and expect it to do well, it will not do well, because the ball will bounce over the stumps. People will be able to leave on length. And that's exactly what Nathan McSweeney and Manas Lavishan did under lights. You saw the difference between the two teams under lights itself, that Australia hardly gave India anything to leave. India were more than happy to play the shot, because there was nothing for them to do. You compare these numbers, great number. Australia day 2, India day 1, this is session 3 numbers. Australia went for wicket because, of course, they had a very good lead. So they were more than happy to go for runs, which reflects in their economy. But you look at the left alone percentage. How many balls did India leave because they didn't want to, or were they in a position to leave because the percentage of balls hitting the wickets are fairly similar, but the lengths were far different? And to me, the game was lost in two separate moments. One was with the bat in the first session itself, but the majority of it, any chance you had, was in session 3, where you had to take a few wickets to keep yourself in the game. So my baffling problem is, how did nobody from the management or anybody else come through with the message that, guys, we are bowling too short, or even if it's not too short, we are bowling too wide. We'll have to hit. You saw the difference the second day. First ball that was bowled on second day, you saw it pristine on the stumps. Test cricket, any which ways, offers you lesser periods where you can take the game away. In Australia, even more so under pink ball, because that is something Australia know for a long time. India missed out on all of these moments. So maybe India will be very happy that they'll get this back in terms of the red cherry, and they'll be far more at home that, okay, the traditional good length that works for us should do the job for us, but the ball will still bounce a bit more in Gava. So they will have to have that adjustment. I don't know if India want to make changes, because dropping Harshit right now would be very harsh. But if you are going to take a risk, I think he's the only spot that's there for you to take a risk on.
Next, before I go to Akshay, do you think it's pretty much the ball that you're holding, which is actually India's strength? They don't play that much pink ball cricket. People might look at an aberration in Adelaide and be like, "Theek hai, ho gaya," but they can still kind of, do something incredible and then get themselves in the WTC. So do you think the ball mattered a lot with these bowlers not having that much experience?
Oh, 100% sure. And you saw that problem. And the batsman also needed this alarm. See, in the last MNL, we spoke about how Pujara said this before the game, that the pink ball is harder for a longer period of time. it skids on. It gives you lesser reaction time, and that's exactly what happened with the batters. So many of them were caught in two minds, and that is what happened with the bowlers as well. Stark said this after the game that I feel the pink ball is far closer to the white ball in comparison to the red cherry because it stays that much harder. He can use the good length to get extra bounce, and the fact that you are not used to it as the opposition, you will rush the batters there. So it was 100% one of the biggest reasons that you struggled to hold to take control of the pink ball in terms of the movement, because make no mistake, India got better seam and swing with the pink ball on the first day as compared to Australia. But because they were so far away in terms of their lines and lengths, it did not help them. So if India are going to play more pink ball games, I would want them to spend actual time practicing with the pink ball. And practice doesn't mean 1 week. This is all muscle memory. If you think कि एक पिक के practice में हो जाएगा, नहीं होता भाई. Even Bumrah, the one Bumrah had to take 3 overs to find the right length to bowl in Adelaide. So you can't expect mere mortals to just adapt to these conditions if you don't have enough practice with it. So 100% the pink ball played a part. But my only bit was, if I know this before the game, surely they would know. They are in this game a lot more. They are spending a lot more time with the data to understand this is something that can be done. So maybe the adjustment was too much to do, but you could do it in 1 day. When it did not work for you, you were able to do it on day 2. So maybe just planning is something that's gone really haywire in that in the pink ball essence.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the planning because India don't play that much pink ball cricket, like Nick just mentioned. Then some good points to think about. Lots of comments coming through, but I have a YouTube tool which tells me who's liked this video and who hasn't. So all you guys in the comments, Jesus.
अरे भाई basically अपनी भाई बोल रहे कि यार like the
was just basically just dramatical, but not really just spoiling a party in Spotify. If you guys are joining us from there, please like and of course move over to YouTube. I know a lot of you guys are watching from Twitter. Yeah, just come to YouTube, help us with the algorithm, and it just helps new people join the show. Adyan Singhal, you have some.
Sorry, before I forget, Spotify Wrapped also came up. Please do rate us on Spotify. All of you guys watching there, we are top 10 in, I'm forgetting which territory. I'll share the Spotify Wrapped of Monday Night Live. It was pretty cool to see that. We are also top 5 podcast for 32 listeners. So it was nice to see all these folks who are listening to us. Please यार यहाँ पे like कर दो Spotify पे जाओ जो सुनते हैं Spotify पे please make sure you are rating us over there. It helps of course the podcast also to get to a wider audience. So thank you so much. But people from over 28 countries are listening to us on Spotify, guys. Just to put that out there. So that's something.
And any non-cricket countries?
Germany, there was Canada, USA, there was Germany, there's I'm forgetting a lot of European countries. Of course, there was France as well somewhere. In the list, there was Russia. Russia is in top 5, by the way. UAE, Qatar. So yeah.
Well done. We're going global indeed. Surinder Singh is a new name, 100% saying, I have started an initiative for RR. Can I explain? Please explain it to us in the comments. We'll take it in the 12th man section, 100%. There's a brilliant fun fact given by Parth saying Australia haven't beaten India in Australia with the red ball since 2018. That gives me a lot of confidence. Thank you for that. X Factor saying, like kar diya bhai dil kush. Yeah, for sure. And Greg K saying, no one besides Australia can play the pink ball. Can't expect our bowlers to do magic with limited preparation with the pink ball. Right. Good, valid points. And it just makes you think about one man who performed really well with the pink ball, which is Mitchell Starc. Another fifer for him, and he really derailed India's chances. There's great stats just going around on cricket.com's website in terms of the carousel. But just before we move on to other things, I just want to touch upon two things. One is changes for Brisbane and what we're going to do on the 14th of December. Akshay, I'll come to you first. Did you forget the team changes that we saw in Adelaide, but the batting order, would you rejig that first? Or again, it comes down to who you're going to have as your combination?
I mean, rejig बोल के कितना ही करें? I'm just trying to think realistically क्या possible है. Ideally, of course, we would all want to see Dhruv Jurel back in the side in place of Rohit Sharma. I'm guessing that's something everyone's aligned on in terms of that would be our full strength first 11. I don't see that happening. I don't see Rohit Sharma moving. I hope Rohit Sharma doesn't move himself up the order. Rahul and Jaiswal, I know, did not have a great test in Adelaide, but वो pink ball का भी थोड़ा असर रहता है. And yeah, 8 tests, पता नहीं. I want to believe कि they will come good once again. apart from that, I would stick to the same order, to be honest. Rahul, Jaiswal, Gill, Kohli, Pant, Sharma, and Nitish Kumar Reddy, of course. Maybe instead of Ashwin, I wouldn't mind going back to Washington Sundar, especially because हम लोग वाका में खेल, I mean वाका बोलता हूँ, गाबा में खेलने वाले. And he didn't do too badly in the first test. I have no clue why was he dropped in this, or rather rested in the second test. सही में पता नहीं, genuinely idea नहीं है कि चल क्या रहा है boss. हम हमेशा से बोलते आए, we're not expecting the team management to do what we want them to do. What we're looking for is clarity. कुछ एक direction हमें दिखना चाहिए कि हाँ ठीक है ऐसे कर रहे हैं. We might not necessarily agree with this. I'm pretty sure I've made this very same statement at least 10 to 20 times, if not more. But again, it's not that we want them to do जो हमें चाहिए. All we are expecting is कुछ तो clarity दो, कुछ तो मतलब there needs to be some consistency in the way you're going forward. If Ashwin was going to play the pink ball test, why didn't he play the first bloody test? If Washi was selected in the first test against all wisdom, why did he not play the second test? Because he didn't do too badly in the first test. पता नहीं यार, अभी मतलब वो कर रहे हैं, vibes पे चल रहे हैं, लगता है तो vibes पे ही चलेंगे.
And Akshay, good on you to kind of predict that Rohit's going to bat in the middle order, because at that point in time in the MNL, when we were discussing with you last week, prior to that Adelaide test, we all kind of giggled it off, and then it kind of grew steam and then confirmed by Rohit themselves that he's going to be batting there. Do you think now that's his go-to position in test, just to put it out there? Or do you think, again, it's just because we're in Australia, he's not having good form, he's averaging 20, he's being outdone by pace, that's why he's kind of hiding himself? Does that make sense?
भाई पहली बात तो गिन चुन के, in all fairness, I don't think Rohit's going to be playing a lot of tests. He's going to be playing a handful of tests, and at least the next 8 tests that India play are all happening away. So away mein to I hope I do like the idea of Rahul opening away, simply because he's shown how well he can be, how well he can perform the way he did in the first test. So I hope if he's able to do well in the upcoming tests as well, then don't be surprised if it is going to be Rahul and Jaiswal opening in England as well. Home test mein, I don't see why Rahul has to open, because we've got enough options. Domestic pool में भी Rohit Sharma himself can open. That's all right. वहाँ पे आप 30 बॉल में 40 मार दो चलेगा भाई, क्योंकि middle order अच्छा खासा है जो मतलब मार लेगा अपने लिए. So that's not an issue. So right now, the way I look at it, at least for this test series, I hope Rohit Sharma just continues here, क्योंकि इसके बाद there's a proper 6-month gap. India next play a test match, assuming they don't play the WTC final, on the 21st of June after this series. So that's a 5.5 month gap. So मतलब तब who knows यार, बहुत कुछ चीजें बदल जाती हैं. Someone might get injured. We might see a new batter coming in altogether. So yeah, I don't want to sort of predict something that far into the future.
Okay. Panel, please read one comment at a time and help the viewers share their valuable perspective. That happens in the 12th man section. Good to great. Or I think your name is Arun. You joined us last week. We appreciate all your love that you're sending us. And like all our videos on our platform, we'll be absolutely delighted with that. Giant chasing Ashwin Pink test selection was experience. IG and his prior expertise in getting Marnus and Smith. I think Ashwin, I predicted that he'll be into that 11. And I know he did that in the previous pink ball test in Adelaide.
But experience field पे खड़े होके तो कुछ फायदा नहीं है ना, bowling भी तो देना पड़ेगा ना. Experience लेके क्या करोगे अगर fielding ही करानी है.
And I know like people will say, oh yeah, Lyon didn't do that much with the ball in terms of bowling that much, but the Pacers were on point, so he was given some respite. Adya and Single asking this question, so I'll bring it up in terms of, damn, this cricket team needs to go. Have we started backing or popularizing mediocrity? I mean, an Indian opener or number 3 bat shouldn't be averaging in mid-30s, irrespective of how long they batted in a particular position. So, Nick, quick question in terms of just following up with this and the changes for Brisbane. Any batters go out in your opinion or not?
निखिल भाई आपको बोलना है और इंटरनेट स्लो है.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Your internet's bad?
Yeah.
No, it's a joke. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. I have no clue.
Go on. I can hear you.
Incredibly crazy. Yeah. So I was saying, I don't think there will be any changes. I don't see it would be fair to drop anybody just so early after one game, and I don't see this hindsight being coming through that Rohit should go back to opening. What you have to realize is Rohit came into this test on the back of very little practice. and that is paramount when you're batting at the top of the order. So I think it was a fair call to probably push him at 6. But what I said this last time as well, you have to keep them there. You cannot just keep playing musical chairs with test match spots. This is not a one day or a T20 game where you want to put left, right, and entry and match up a lot. This is bad. Do the job at this point of time. They haven't done anything of it or anything even close to it. So to me, I don't want any changes to happen, especially for the next test. Maybe after Gaba, if you want to do it, do it. The only spot that I'm genuinely thinking there should be a good change, and that is in the spot for the spinner, because you are not using any spinner at all to be bowling that much. So rather play Jadeja. He will give you good amount of runs lower down the order, which is something you haven't got in this edition. You have Nitish Kumar Reddy, who's looked very good. So Jadeja could partner him and they could give you a few handy runs down the order. But then the catch with the bowling is figure a way out for Travis Head. Have one guy dedicatedly for Travis Head. That this is the guy who we are pigeonholing, that he will bowl to Travis Head. Because with Ash, as you
said, who's that guy? Is it Rana or Siraj or anyone else?
To me, it could be anybody. I have no problem who you earmark. But my only problem is don't have just one guy and say that if not him, we don't know. So you have to plan it accordingly, because with the spin, India are not going to use Jadeja versus Travis Head. They don't do it any which ways in terms of, even at home, they did not back Jadeja enough in terms of against lefties. So overseas, it will happen even lesser. So to me, that spot is the one that is the questionable one. I would not mind if they go the Jai Mata Di route and play Akashdeep. But then you need batting also. So that decision is not going to be easy at any front to take the call in terms of who to replace Ashwin, or if you want to go all phases.
Sorry, but since we were talking about only batting, I still have one change. Batting to same hi rehta hai, but I don't want to see Akashdeep come into the side in place of Harshit Rana. Jadeja, that's a fair shout. In fact, I had Jadeja in my first 11, first से पहले, simply because तुम bowling के साथ अश्विन वॉशी जो भी देंगे ना, उससे ज़्यादा जडेजा सिर्फ बैटिंग से दे देगा. And I agree. He's arguably India's second best batter. If not best, he's the second best after Pant. Maybe now third after Jaiswal, but he is a very important cog in that Indian batting wheel. But Akashdeep with the ball, he's actually someone I wouldn't mark. Agar, like Nikhil Bhai said, if India wants to earmark a bowler to attack Travis Head and get him out, Akashdeep is a good shout. He can seam the ball out. You need bowlers who can do that. He can hit the hard lanes. He's also one of those bowlers who can play the role of that workhorse, who can constantly keep bowling from one end and hold it together. Top of off, aim kar sakta hai, hits those hard lanes. Gaba, he would enjoy Gaba, especially अगर day 3, day 4 में वो cracks वगैरह आने लग जाए, तो भाई साहब मतलब care हो सकते हैं एकदम क्या है. And यार बहुत अच्छा किया रणजी ट्रॉफी में, इंडिया के लिए भी जब भी खेले अच्छा ही किया. Harshit Rana he probably has more of that X factor. On his day he'll be very good, but again he's still raw. He is raw at the end of the day. Maybe a bit of hindsight in what I'm saying, but even then it's fine. You tried that, it did not work out. Might as well, since you have the option of Akashdeep, go to Akashdeep in that case.
Yeah, and Harshit's still young, so I think the messaging to him needs to be like, listen, horse of courses, you did, of course, take your chance really well in Perth. And then Adelaide, maybe it was just like something of the international game catching up with you. But don't worry, Harshit, they're still part of our plans. Akashdeep for me as well, Akshay, I resonate with those thoughts. If I had to make another realistic change, Jadeja for Ashwin and probably bring Ash back in Sydney. That's how I'd look at it. My other unrealistic change is bring Jurel in for Rohit and make Virat captain. That's never going to happen in a million years. Good to great. Saying, folks, I love your show for the reason only if you value the viewers' comments in time compared to the Media Good Live channel. Absolutely, that's what our strength is indeed. And Surendra Singh saying, last year I started it and donated 500 plus meals. This year is going to do a bigger way. Brilliant stuff. Tell us more about it in the 12th man comments. And we'll definitely take it over there. Some tongue-in-cheek comments saying Nikhil looks like a fugitive most of the time with poor connectivity. Come on, go easy on him. And speaking of going easy, Siraj and Head didn't go easy on each other. I know the boys in the Hindi pod spoke about it. Akshay, I don't know if you've had a chance to speak about it, but you've seen this boy flourish in RCB colours. Siraj, he's one of those Virat Kohli boys in terms of having his heart on his sleeve. It's fair to send off a batter, especially if you've got Talt all over the place, right? So what's your stance in the whole Travis Head, Mohammed Siraj confrontation?
I mean, too much has been made of it. First of all, I am with Siraj on this. No bias whatsoever. I'll be the first one to admit Siraj is a very in-your-face kind of bowler in terms of how he likes to be aggressive and also, probably even hurl a couple of abuses if possible. But this wasn't one of those instances, yeah. He gave him a stare and he's well within his right to stare at a batter who's been thrashing him. Like Siraj himself spoke about this to Harbhajan Singh the very next day. He said Travis had बहुत अच्छे batting करी थी. He was batting very well. He was hitting boundaries off my good balls as well. It's one thing to be hit off bad balls, but it did get to me that he was hitting good deliveries. So what do I do as a bowler? Because he's batting very well. So when I got him out, I stared at him. And then he, abused me. And that's what happened. It was Travis Head who actually started the verbal volley and not Siraj. And Siraj didn't say anything back. All he did was this. Probably the send off, physically, because you shouldn't wave your hands and all of that. Maybe that was over the line. But in the heat of the moment, hota hai yaar. Avnish and I, we've had so many fights while playing here at match day was in Bangalore. You're playing in Adelaide. The crowd is vociferous. The crowd is rowdy. When the crowd is at you, booing you, of course, your adrenaline, your emotions, everything will be at an all-time high. So I'm with Siraj on this. I don't think there's any reason why Siraj needs to receive flag. If he's being fined, that's also well within the rules. Sure, he should be fined because there is the code of conduct that needs to be maintained. Sure, they should do that as well. But apart from that, I don't see why Head had to act holier than thou and say, I as an Australian, I don't think that was graceful enough. Bhai, मतलब hypocrisy की भी सीमा होती है यार. Like, how can you possibly, as an Aussie, say that? Like, it was bizarre. And good to see Hazelwood, by the way, come and defend Siraj. So that was also pretty cool to see.
Yeah, the RCB connection
Damn,
over
sorry.
there. You go on.
Sorry, I'm saying I was expecting Akshay to say sharam. Sharam, that is the word that I was looking forward to. But
no, I feel even as fans loving cricket all the time, we'd love this little animation on the field, especially with India, Australia. We know how historically also this has always kind of had, just being a thorn in the flesh, so to speak. And Siraj had his send-off, had his moment. What was bizarre to me is that Travis had said the first words he uttered was like, well bowled, mate, which is not well bowled. How does well bowled sound like fuck off? Like, you can see, what I mean? Well, fuck off. Like, you can't. And then that's why Siraj is like, and even Indian fans would be like, yeah, they will score. And even Australian fans, I'm pretty sure when they were giving it to Jaiswal and Siraj would be like, yeah, in our country, mate, we're going to give it to you. And that's just the name of the game. So all these boys will, like I said, be literally developing a rhinoceros skin gradually throughout this tour. Anirudh Srinivas, beg your pardon, saying congrats on the 100K boys. Chuff for all of y'all. Thank you so much. Brilliant stuff from you in the comments. Siraj is a naturally steamroller, but Head added fuel to the fire. And that's good to see in the game. Like I just said, this is the reason cricket will never go globally, because we're so soft in terms of trash talk. There's nothing personal or racist or anything said. Here I was thinking UFC style joint PCs. Oh my God. But again, that's a completely robust sport. Oz Media wants to create a broad 2.0 with Siraj. And guys, please do the show for 2 hours non-stop. We just love it. Good to great. Thanks for those kind words. And hopefully you guys are joining us from wherever, settling in nicely in this new week of December. Right, we're almost done with our India-Australia chat. There's plenty of other topics to talk about in this podcast, which we'll go to right now. Have I missed out anything else, producer? No, I haven't. So, look, plenty of stuff that we've already spoken about, plenty of stuff already there on our website, our social media. We've, of course, hit 500K on Instagram as well, and you can go check out all the crazy things over there. Right, time to move on to the best of the rest, because I feel essentially there's so much to discuss there, including New Zealand, England, Harry Brook, and the WTC standings in further detail. So what are we waiting for? Let's move on and talk about that. Right, best of the rest. And let's start with, of course, Nikhil and his thoughts about generally this WTC scenarios right now and how it's shaping up. We'll first show everyone the standings so they're familiar with what's happening as it stands right now, December 9th, 2024. South Africa and Australia are in that top 2 bracket. And that's all that matters, because after that defeat in Adelaide, India have gone to 3rd for the first time so far in this year's, this cycle standings. And then if you look at the scenarios, it's kind of clear. right? So on the left is a series scoreline predicted for all the 10 remaining tests, and of course, how it'll all shape up. So there's a lot of possibility that India and Australia could still make it, but there's, of course, a huge probability that South Africa is a name there, which cannot go away from the WTC final race. So, Nick's coming to you. Like I said at the top of the show, if South Africa win one more against Pakistan, it's almost like they can do what they did in New Zealand, send half their players over there and just prepare for Lords.
Yeah, and fair enough. That's how WTC is designed or shaped. That you do well in what you have to, and you can get up to the final. So you can't complain there. I think they had a scare against Sri Lanka. They did well to go past it, and now they are playing at home. Usually, teams don't lose at home unless you have some specifics this edition, which is why that 3-0 should sting like a bee. But it is what it is. So I think South Africa have done really well. And again, unless Pakistan do a Jai Mata Di, I don't see South Africa not playing the final. And I've said this before, if they play the final, please go on and win it. I'm happy.
Yeah, that'll be great. If South Africa do win it, it'll be crazy. There'll be 3 different winners pretty much of the WTC in the first 3 years, and won't we absolutely love it, even though India has not got its name on the trophy just as yet. Akshay, again, reflecting on those standings, and obviously it was always never going to be in contention for New Zealand, Pakistan, Bangladesh, West Indies, who obviously had a huge part to play and can be party poopers as well, especially when you take a look at Pakistan with Babar and Naseem coming back into the thick of things in that South Africa series. And going back to the scenarios as well, what do you want to see, Akshay? Let's be honest with you. I know sometimes you're perceived as a non-Indian fan in terms of cricket. I don't know how that has lasted you in the test of time, but what scenario would you like to see? South Africa, Australia, India, Australia, or India, South Africa? There are only 3 choices.
See, first of all, when it comes to my fandom, let me address it. It's very clear and complicated. I do not care what happens to India in home tests and T20Is and white ball cricket in general. The only time I support the Indian men's team is when they play tests away. So, of course, when it comes to BGT, when it comes to the WTC final, rest assured, I will be donning my India whites and cheering for them. Right now, in terms of who will play the final, in all likelihood, it does seem Australia and South Africa. Because for India to go through directly, like we discussed earlier, the BGT scoreline has to be 3-1 India's favor or above. Anything below that, and they will be depending on how Australia play against Sri Lanka and how Pakistan play against South Africa. So should India, of course, even win the series 3-2, they will have to wait for the Australia-Sri Lanka series to end and hope that Australia lose at least one of those 2 games. It has to either be, at least not win both the games. It can be a draw as well, and that's fine. But they cannot potentially have Australia winning against Sri Lanka 2-0. And of course, with South Africa, Pakistan, as long as South Africa win one of those 2 games, they are completely through. They don't have to wait for anything. Right now, as things stand, should India win 3-1 and of course South Africa also not do too well against Pakistan, that is 2-0 agar haar jate hain, then India and Australia do go through. Abhi, let's hope wo nahi hota wahan pe. I don't think Pakistan will be able to do a Pakistan in South Africa. So expecting South Africa to do well, and yeah, WTC final mein agar jeetenge to maza to aayega yaar. Pehli 3 edition mein 3 different winners and not one is India. So that'll be great.
All I'm going to say is that if India don't make it, I want to see another Janssen 7 for against the Aussies at Lords. Won't we absolutely love it? It'll be brilliant.
Rabada to take Travis Head and then get demerit points. Let me hear me out. Rabada to celebrate Travis Head's wicket and get 3 demerit points and miss the entire next WTC World Cycle.
Oh my God, that'll be absolutely brilliant. And imagine if they just win at Lords, but then go to Birmingham, Edgbaston and win it in terms of just this trophy celebration over there. 25 years after that semi-final, which still hurts every South African fan. Right, speaking of South Africa, they were doing pretty well. Like I said, just a summation of what went on earlier this week. 358 playing 328 in the first innings, and then Sri Lanka did well with the bat. But then, of course, falling short by 109 runs. We'll just quickly talk about this game because we brought up South Africa, guys. This South African test team, right? I mean, are they now actually credible to make the final in the sense that truly deserved? Or do you feel like because other results have kind of gone their way, they've got back into the race late? So do you think it's vindicated? They sit in the top 2 right now, Nix?
I think it's fair reflection of how Test cricket has panned out, to be very honest, in the last few years, because we've had some absolutely mad results. West Indies beating Australia in a pink ball test. You had Pakistan beaten at home by Bangladesh. So New Zealand coming home to India and playing at home like that. So it is not in your control in terms of what can happen. You see, India won at Perth. How many of us, let's be honest, how many of us actually thought that India could go on and win at Perth? Not quite really as practical to think. You'd think MCG, Gabba, maybe Sydney, best chances for India. So South Africa, to their credit, they have been able to pull off after that New Zealand heist where they sent random people there. But at home, you see the team is starting to look far more, I wouldn't say settled, but you know what to expect from them. No, Markram is still on and off with his runs, but you had Ryan Rickelton who came into this game and scored a good one. Dane Patterson came in because two people got injured and he took a 5. I think it's a fair summary that Test cricket in 2024 has been unpredictable. So may the WTC reflect that even more so. So I'm really not bothered about deserved or not, because people talk about New Zealand as well in the same breath. That what did they do when they first won? They won limited and still they went on to win the final. So I don't think we are at the stage where we can talk about who deserves and who doesn't. But Temba Bavuma is doing well, and that is all that matters.
Yeah, Lord Bamuma. I'll tell you what, South Africa also been doing really well, guys, because I don't know whether I saw it in the group that day when I was going through all the messages and all that. South Africa haven't lost at home in about 13 tests. The only 2 they've lost was against India since December 2020. So they've been doing something right there, even though this is a team of transition and all of that. Ramna Kiran having her, or his say, I keep saying Ramna is a she. I have no idea. It's not like I have friends who call Ramna of the opposite sex, but Test cricket is fast evolving into the best ball. Stop this cricket. I'm on the pod anyway. Jesus, sorry. It's been a fascinating subplot, that one. Test cricket is fast evolving into the best bowling attacks for conditions, producing results over competent batters. Good point over there. Sri Lanka is a 2.0 version of themselves. The Bangladeshis, they never played to their potential post the glorious 1996 World Cup era, saying
I mean, Arun, in all fairness, 2000s, I guess we both have been watching different versions of cricket, because the Sri Lanka I remember of 2000s were world beaters. Even
this very year, they've beaten India. I mean, if you think that's completely missed your bus, so nahi bhai.
Yeah, and I know you say post that glorious 1996 World Cup era, good to great. But the point is, I feel like 2007, they made the World Cup final. 2011, they made the World Cup final. And I think they won the
14.
14, 2014, 2012, they made the final as well. So they made 4 ICC finals in 7 years. What more do you want? 9 as well, yeah. They lofted out a freebie. Hello, Crick Crazy Nick saying, Ajay Chavla, good to see all you guys joining us in the chat. Crick Crazy, there's another Crick Crazy. I don't know if he's stolen it off Nick's, but you should check that in terms of trademark and patency. Jacob Bethel, we'll talk about him. Oh, and didn't I tell you all? Now everyone's now jumping on the Jacob Bethel pattern. It's insane. And I wanted to ask Akshay also, maybe some point in time, the best of the rest, how he's looking forward to these 4-part docu-series about RCB's auction and all of that. First episode's dropped out. I can't wait. It's a 10-minute watch, but we'll see. And good to great asking, Akshay, bro, are you from Tamil Nadu? Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I mean, I have that quintessential South Indian name, but unfortunately, I'm not from Tamil Nadu. I'm from the neighboring state, good to great. I'm from Bangalore. So yeah, that's where I'm from.
And so they're saying Avinash, bro. Who's Avinash? I have no idea. This man. It's
Avinash. You are Avinash.
Oh, it is. Anyway, so look, get your comments coming through, and good to see all you guys. What do you feel about Indian fans targeting Jaswant Siraj to part with the Aussies? I mean, there's just a few of them in the keyboard warriors. I mean, it's not really the ones of the fans at the stadium, indeed. More random comments coming through, and Surendra saying, can you please tell me about the 12th man comment box? It's not a comment box, it's not a separate comment box. It's a normal live chat that you can get your questions in. I will take them at the end of the show, which is a dedicated section to answering all your questions. We'll probably elongate it as well, even though I might have to run off right quickly. Right, let's move on to the other test match which happened. And from Southern Hemisphere to the other Southern Hemisphere in terms of New Zealand, England, because they were absolutely brilliant. I love how Joe Root got to his 100, having absolute balls to reverse ramp. Who was it? I think it was one of the New Zealand quicks. Anyway, New Zealand not kind of doing what they did against India, absolutely collapsing at home. And I mean, we saw everything in this test match. We saw Gus Atkinson get a hat trick. We saw Joe Root, like I said, get 100 again. We saw Ben Stokes, beg your pardon, take some wickets. So again, this was nothing to play for in terms of the WTC, but any positives apart from Jacob fucking Bethel. Such a great talent. What an acquisition. And in 10 years' time, it'll be worth 10x.
I just love it. But in all fairness, मैं भी वो जो भी देखा है टेस्ट मैच का सिर्फ बेथिल को देखने के लिए देखा है. And yeah, that 96 was really good. He looked very fluent, very much at ease. I know it's a different format, different conditions, so there's no point trying to compare that. I mean, compare his performances in New Zealand and expect him to do well in India in white ball cricket. But so far, the signs are there. He clearly seems to be someone who's going to be here for a long time, who we are going to hear a lot about for a long time. So that's nice. And also, he's a gun fielder. Yeah, some of those catches that he took, holy smokes, was that good. We remember Dan Weston saying that he's arguably England's best fielder right now. I mean, that was on display in that test. Apart from that, there was also a hat-trick, if I'm not wrong. Nikhil bhai, Gus Atkinson, he took a hat-trick there. उसके अलावा हमने मैच नहीं देखा, मतलब हम खुश थे कि हमारे पास दूसरा बहुत क्रिकेट है देखने के लिए. But yeah, it was interesting to see that.
Yeah, Atkinson doing an Irfan Pathan, but in quicker time, getting a test 100, of course, in his short career so far, 10 for and a hat-trick right now. And like Stokes also mentioned in the post-match presentation, because I didn't see anything in terms of the live action, but the highlights, they were 40 for 4 on day one. And then for them to recover and then have a huge win like this, Knicks, also is testament to what England are doing. Albeit they got smashed in India, they're still pulling off some mad results here.
Yeah, and it's the guy who's responsible for the first name, Harry Brook, 123 of 115. If you haven't caught up the highlights, please look it up, because that was some absolutely very, very good test match batting. And again, test match batting, maybe modern test match batting, to put it that way, properly made use of his skills to figure a way out that, okay, I want to defend when I want to, but I want to play my shots. And he did. And he did them with good freedom. In the last test, maybe you can say, 9 lives and, people dropped catches of him. This game, not so much. He was very fluent, more in control. 123 115, it's you don't get this very often, no matter how good a stroke maker you are. So I think Harry Brook was the fulcrum around which England were able to come back. So very, very happy for Harry Brook. On Jacob Bethel, if I'm not wrong, even Swan mentioned him, right, when we asked him about a player to look out for. And I think it was Jacob Bethel that the guy he named. If I'm not, we can always cross-check that. So not surprised how Jacob Bethel has come through. But I am personally very happy for both Cars and Atkinson. I think they have very, very big shoes to fill with Jimmy and Brody not playing. But Cars doing what he did, and then Atkinson to come into this game. And I mean, test hat-tricks are always special. So very good on him to do well. Baki, let's see. They have a good battery of pacers, because Ashes is all that matters to them. So they are building up well towards that.
Yeah, it's crazy because England, even though they're not even in the running for the WTC, they haven't been in the running for the WTC. I don't know, for all these 3 cycles which has gone on, it just makes you think, when will it actually come to fruition in terms of results and winning that WTC? I think that's definitely on McCullum's agenda. Go on.
It is next year, because if you see so far, the Sena ka 2 people have won.
Oh, you never know. You never know. It'll be proper Sena. It'll be proper Sena.
The A and N is done. S looks very likely. Maybe he will join next year.
And where's the I? I want the I to join in. One man part of the Sena, one man part of England is, of course, Joe Root. And what a crazy run he's been having, at least in the terms of the last 51 tests. Look at that. Great to see the amount of runs he's putting up. Just generally, he's a cricket fan. And he's got so many hundreds that it's just unthinkable right now what he's done, at least in the last 3 years in Test cricket. So, look, props to Joe Root and props to England to get a lot of things right on that tour with New Zealand. Right, let's quickly talk about the other things which has caught our eye. We'll talk about SMAT in just a bit, in Baroda's highest ever T20 score, and what we've liked so far in the competition. I know it's in that quarterfinal stage right now, and we'll give you all our best bits in terms of Bhuvi, Krunal Pandya, Rajat Patidar. I'm not mentioning all the RCB players, but look, they're standing out, aren't they? But just to finish up with 1 second, more international cricket. West Indies, Bangladesh, because they also did the unthinkable, winning a test in West Indies, which is crazy. And did you guys see any of that test? And then we'll talk about the ODI really, really quickly. Nikhil?
I just got a few glimpses of some of these highlights, and good to see Bangladesh do what you want. And Nahid Rana, the guy, we've spoken about him in the past, how he looks really quick, really good. If you look at his pitch map, you'd be very, very happy to see a guy who's so young being able to just control his line and length and get the ball to do much and get a fifer like that. So very happy for Bangladesh, because again, Test cricket continues to need such results. It needs records held over long period of time being broken. So happy for Bangladesh. In that test, in the review, Sharfin Rutherford. I keep hyping that name up because he's been in absolute pristine form. Very, very good to see him score a very good 100 in the first ODI. So looking forward to him making an impact in the IPL as well, but as good as it can get in terms of West Indies power batting.
Yeah, really, really good. They got a decent chase, of course. Bangladesh posting 294, but they're getting the job done with 2.2 overs to spare. And like Nick's mentioned, Rutherford was sublime. There were lots of other good things to observe from both sides. I mean, you look at even how Bangladesh's batters contributed pretty decently across the board. 74 for Mehdi Hassan Miraz as captain, remember. Was this his first game as captain, boys? Leading Bangladesh?
I think it's good. I'm not quite sure, so wouldn't want to comment on that. But yeah, stand-in captain, yes.
Okay, maybe as a standing captain. They had the experience of Mehmedullah. They also have the youngness of someone like Jakar Ali who's done stuff. So good stuff for Bangladesh, and we'll leave that chat there. Let's move on and quickly just talk about an update to give you from a so-called hybrid model for the ICC Champions Trophy and the saga around it. Now, Akshay has been clear in his stance that India shouldn't go to Pakistan no matter what, and I understand his sentiment. Do you still stick with those thoughts?
I don't know if I had such strong thoughts, but all what I've been clear with is behind BCCI. It was never going to be the case that BCCI first of all has no say in these matters. It's the Indian government taking a call, and there was no way on earth the Indian government would have allowed their cricket team to go to Pakistan. My only question is, why was this not communicated in advance? Because it almost feels like, this was, I don't want to say intentionally, but we all know how much money has the ICC spent on, developing infrastructure in Pakistan, in Karachi to be particular. Over 150 crores in INR was spent to improve the infrastructure in Pakistan. My question is, clearly, Team India would have never been on board for this. Pakistan came up with a retaliation. They did mention that if Team India is not going to travel to Pakistan, then every tournament that's going to be held, every ICC event that's going to be held in India will also have to be a hybrid event because we don't want to come to India. To which ICC was like, "Bhad mein jaave, koi tension nahi hai, tum mat khelo." To put it very bluntly once again. So it is still not clear, but right now, as things stand, of course, hybrid model seems to be the clear winner there. Abhi it's still not clear ki whether it's going to be Dubai, because there's still reports saying ki South Africa mein ho sakta hai and all of that. Because the tournament is being held in Feb, and given that there's an SA20 happening in Jan that also trickles over to the first week of Feb, I'm not sure if South Africa is the greatest of winners because the pitches will be used, they'll be tired. So not sure if that. UAE, which means is the top contender, but I'm pretty sure most fans across the world will be like, please, rehm kar lo, please don't go to UAE once again. But there aren't too many options, yeah. Southern Hemisphere, I mean, if you look at Australia and New Zealand.
No, wherever you go, my question is, wherever you go, won't it kind of do more harm than good for the other countries as well? Because it's a hybrid model. Whoever's in India's group will also have to do that equal amount of traveling. So especially if they're going to be playing against Pakistan, whatever, in Pakistan, right? So next, how does it work out, and how will the ICC kind of come to an agreement saying, for not just India, the other shareholders on the table, this is all kind of amicable and nice?
An Indian presiding over that chair now, so it only complicates or makes that matter easier or tougher for them to resolve, because when you are a BCCI head, you can think differently, which is completely fair. You will probably think of your board first, which is natural to think of, but not when you are the ICC chair. So, especially given what Pakistan have not said, that if you don't play in Pakistan, will not play in India. I'm very much looking forward to how do they come to a conclusion like this, that okay, because there are 3 events at least in the next few years that are there in India. You have a Women's World Cup, then you'll have a T20 World Cup, which you have to co-host with Sri Lanka. So I don't see a clear answer here that this is what we'll do. As you said, it was never going to be easy. It wasn't easy when you played the Asia Cup as well. Teams, including Pakistan, had to do a lot of traveling. So I just hope they solve this once and for all. I think it's getting to a point where people are going to give up on. It will always be watched. Let's make no mistake that whenever India play Pakistan, you have to realize some of us who may not be too perturbed out by that contest are in minority. Majority of the people will still watch it, and the match will make a lot of money, which is, again, it's just there. The market is there for it. I just want this to be solved once and for all, because every year or a year and a half, just sick and tired of hearing that, okay, this will happen, or will go here, or will go there. Just decide once and for all and be done with it. Because see, which was the last good India-Pakistan game that we saw? 2022?
Yeah. और उससे पहले तो कुछ नहीं.
उसके पहले भी which was the last one? Maybe 2020.
2007 का final.
17. 17.
17 क्या था?
Not a good game. I'm saying in terms of hype and result and all of that. So you're not getting such contests any which ways, despite forcing that contest every year. So again, money will win over mind there, but I have absolutely no clue what will happen there.
Yeah, I know it's a cash cow in terms of the cricketing fixture that we all look forward to, but I feel like two things have to be made very clear. First is, as a cricket fan, I don't like the fact that my country and its board is now being an absolute bully across the board. Even though we are the richest and we have all the eyeballs and we're playing that to our full advantage and exploiting that, I just feel like the ICC should have some sort of regulations in play where no board just gets so much power. We've seen it before with Australian boards and England boards in the past, but now India has the power, and that's why I think they're kind of using all of that to their own good. Ashutosh Pajpal saying, "Ha, upon cheating kiya, up kiya," in regards to this whole hybrid model coming into place. I'm guessing good to great going on to say India vs Pakistan game should happen in a neutral venue like what they did in 1996 with Saga Cup in Canada. You're mentioning 1996 quite a bit. I don't know if you're born that year or just watched a lot of cricket in that time. But
that's one game good to great. Like in this case, if a tournament is being hosted by Pakistan, where will the India-New Zealand encounter happen? That'll also have to happen outside, right? Because India does not want to travel to Pakistan. So that's the issue. It's not just about the India-Pakistan fixture in this event. Like, of course, if the event itself was happening elsewhere, then that was a different question. And that's a fair point that you've mentioned. But right now, it's a it's a very big mess, because both boards know this is a proper money maker. They don't want to miss out on that opportunity. So, ek taraf, they also want to mint money. On the other hand, they also want to act very, hoity-toity and say, you know what, we don't want to play then this reason, that reason. Just either pick a lane and stop playing. Walk the talk and say, yeah, we're willing to give away the points. We don't want to play you guys. Or just accept whatever the ICCI says. Plus, ICCI.
ICCI. I love it. The BCCI do it more, saying Ashutosh Pajpal humiliated badly, beg your pardon, in cricket match. I mean, saying Pava, surprising, it's easier and faster for teams travel to Pakistan to UAE from them moving from Park to city. Yeah, absolutely.
And what about the pitch? Do you want to go?
Pitch, and plus this tournament is also looked at to kind of revive and resuscitate ODI cricket through all its glory of the Champions Trophy. So they need to figure out a plan, and fast, because Feb 2025 is when they penciled that in. Let me just get to other things that we want to talk about in the best of the rest, because I'm running out of time really quickly. I know I have to go for a nice 3-course meal very shortly, so I have a reservation for that in just a bit. But let's move on and talk to you guys about SMAT, because I feel all the news earlier this week was coming out from Baroda. 349 for 5 is what they got in that game. Akshay, Nix, did you see any of the highlights? Because I've not even seen the scorecard, which I am going to do now. But Akshay, who wants to go first? Who wants to have a first swing at this?
I did not watch the highlights, but I was just thinking about what I said last week with Will Patel, with the century and whatnot. I still stand by it. But again, to be able to do something like that, again, good on it. Like we said earlier, irrespective of how weak siders or a bowling attackers to be able to score a century in 28 balls, 30 balls, 40 balls is not a joke. So good on them for being able to do that. It's also sort of a clear sign that pitches in India, especially when it comes to T20 cricket, have gone considerably flatter. What we saw in IPL 2024 has trickled down to SMAT as well. So high scores, flat tracks, boundaries, all of that are now becoming very common. So I'm guessing this is going to be the new norm. So maybe something bowlers have to really reckon with and ensure that they also get their game right. We've always seen that, historically, when it comes to the game, the battle between bat and ball, it's always the batters who tend to, go ahead. And then there's a slight lag before bowlers also, get on board and adjust their lines, come up with better plans. So I'm expecting that lag to get over by, say in a couple of years. So till then, batters will make hay while the sun shines. So till then, might as well sit back, relax, and watch all these sixes happening.
Yeah, now I'm going through some of the articles to come out of that game, and they surpassed Zimbabwe's 344 for 4, which came, when was it? Whenever that happened, it came against Gambia, or last month in Nairobi. Yeah. And this game, the Baroda Sikkim game, which is 349, happened in Emerald High School ground. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know if the kids took part in terms of viewing this game, but they would have seen the most sixes being hit in a T20, which is 37. And of course, the guys in the comments are going to mention Abhishek and his effort of 106 of 29, which is absolutely nuts. Look, but Baroda have stole the headlines of SMAT this week. But what else can we talk about in terms of SMAT? Shami got some runs. Bhuvi's done well. So, Nix, take it away with your SMAT takeaways.
Yeah, I think a few good people in terms of potential people who could start in the IPL. That is the lens that I'm looking forward to. You had Mukesh Chaudhary who did well. Urvil Patel again. I'm just hoping again when he scored those tons to have 2 in a season is absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, one is you can say happens this that you don't do 2 without having much in you. So I'm just genuinely hoping he gets a grid, or if he doesn't, continues to bang the door. And as Akshay rightly pointed out, maybe it's a sign that the World Cup win, it is completely taken the pressure off India in terms of just everybody go and have a smash. So I want to see if that is something that will continue to happen, because the one player that I was looking forward to with the bat happened to do well with the ball. Namandeep, if I'm not wrong, against Hyderabad took a 5 for. So I want to see how much of this will continue to happen, because see, we've spoken at length in a few previous years that India need people who can bat and bowl both. So I'm looking forward to those options also coming back into the game. So I haven't been able to watch much of it live, but today you saw Shami hit 17 ball 32. Good usage of hitting full tosses. We've had people so much complain India can't hit full toss. So acha use kiya Shami bhai ne. Unfortunately, may not go to the BTT, but okay. For SMAT, he's done what he could. So that's fine.
Also, just one more name to add. IPL NC Mumbai. I don't know when was the game. It was the last league stage game. They chased down 230. Ajinkya Rahane, of course, 54 ball 95. But हमारा भाई साहब, हमारा होगा Suryan Shirge, 8 ball 30. 30 of 8 balls unbeaten. Helped Mumbai chase down 229 or 230 to be precise. Good on him. 5 boundaries यार नाट बॉलों में. उसका highlights देखा. He is the name that's been doing the rounds. He's the name I spoke about even while reviewing Punjab Kings. So actually keep an eye out on him. He might even potentially start for Punjab Kings. We've been talking about who might Punjab slot in that middle order. Don't be surprised if he even starts for them, and they don't have to look at someone like a Priyank Sharia up top. They can just go to Stoinis and slot this guy. So it'll be great to watch. Yeah, but it's been great fun. Bhuvi doing his thing. Then, of course, Surender Singh sticking to his RR fandom there, talking about both Yudhvir Singh Charak and Kumar Kartikeya. Both of them have done well. Yeah. All in all, so far with SMAT, it's been good to see. There have been a couple of really good standout performers in Urvil Patel and all. But just makes you question, agar IPL auction, ye SMAT ke baad hota, are you telling me Urvil Patel would have still gone unsold? 100% not. So why on earth did you decide that day 3, day 4 of the first BGT test, when SMAT hasn't happened, when nothing's happened, would be the right time to organize an IPL auction? I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to that.
Yeah, but the amazing thing is now SMAT is becoming almost like the championship to the Premier League. You know what I mean? Where it kind of just gives you a way to kind of look at that league and be like, look, if you want to make it to the Big Daddy League, which is the IPL, show us what you've got. And like Akshay said, it should have probably happened prior to the auction. But again, they didn't probably want someone like Urval Patel to come in, get just mesmerized with the amount of money, and then get taken away into that other route. We've seen that happen so many times with cricketers. And I'm not saying that Urval Patel or any particular player would be like that. But again, let's see how that really unfolds in the future. Before I finish up with SMAT chat, guys, because 15th December is a final happening at the Chinnaswamy. All the games are happening in and around Bangalore right now. Akshay, if you had to give me a prediction in terms of who's going to make that final, because there's still some big dogs in the race. There's Mumbai, there's UP, there's Delhi, there's Baroda, who's been doing well. So who's your SMAT final prediction? And do you think we should go for the game? Because I think I come back that day.
I am. Just today, a colleague of ours and we sort of decided, let's go. We should definitely check a couple of games out. All the games are happening in Bangalore, all the pre-quarters, quarters, and of course the finals as well. Allur and Bangalore, that's where the games are being held. In terms of who I think will be making it to the final, winner to bahut mushkil hai bata pana. I'm very much inclined to say it will be a repeat of what we saw in the women's circuit. So, women's T20 trophy, the senior women's T20 trophy saw Bengal versus Mumbai in the final. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something similar, but Uttar Pradesh themselves. The thing is, UP has always had a very good side. Yeah? It's just that they've never come good, they've never done well here, but they've always had a very good side. I also want to take the name, but I'll say I'll stick to Bengal versus UP, and I want to see Bengal winning.
Bengal winning it. Who's Bengal's captain, by the way?
Take a guess.
While he Googles it.
Exactly. See, that's it. This is how.
Garami bhai.
Oh, Sudeep Ganami. Thank you.
Who is it?
Sudeep Kumar Ganami.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Who do Bengal have in the thing? Because I know they won by 3 runs. So they had Porel, Karan Lal.
Porel, there's Shabazz, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Ganesh Seth, was that the same guy who played for CSK?
Yeah, no, Pacer, right? I mean, if this is a Pacer, then yeah, it is. It is the same one.
Pacer, indeed. Look, lots gone on in SMAT, and we love that. Lots gone on in other things happening in the cricketing world as well. Hi to Pavan Suresh. Hi to all of your messages. And Ajay Chawla saying, Nick, can you take my message for once? We will take it in the 12th section, I swear, which is starting in 5 to 10 minutes. Indeed. Let's just talk about the women's side of things, because I know Akshay did a nice podcast, which is good on him. Go check that out. Earlier this week, he shot with Nia in the studio and they discuss all things. Now, the women's got absolutely humbled in Allen Border Field. Elise Perry just doing Elise Perry things. Let's just show you some of the stuff to come out of that game. I mentioned Perry lady. She's got an amazing record. So much so that it was the fastest century against India in women's ODIs by Paul, 75, and just brilliant, just so elegant to watch as well. It was not just heavy lifting, but ease and poise and grace. And another record that I want to show you, because the highest team total for Australia in women's ODI is well, it was this one, 371 for 8. So even the women's game is going in a rapid direction in terms of ODI cricket, and that's always good to see. Still not the highest ODI score ever, but the third highest for Australia in their game. Akshay, really want to touch upon this one, because were India just, I don't know, shell-shocked with not just Perry, but the rest of the batters getting so many runs and so fast?
Yeah, to be honest, again, just we've spoken about how with the men's side of things, we've not seen a lot of clarity. With women's cricket, the issue is a lot more rampant the way they've been playing. There just seems to be no clear understanding of who's in what role. There seems to be a lot of players being tried in a lot of positions. We saw the second ODI. We saw Richa Ghosh open in the second ODI. I know Priya Punia wasn't available, and they decided to go ahead with Richa Ghosh, given the high total. But yeah, it's been very bizarre, and to be honest, I haven't been appreciative of the changes. Allen Border Field में खेल रहा हूँ, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में खेल रहा हूँ, ऑस्ट्रेलिया खुद 5 पेसर के साथ खेल रहा है, और हम तीता शादू को रेस्ट करते हैं और लाते किसको ऑफ स्पिनर इन बिनो मनी. Sure, she was the highest run scorer with the bat, but you cannot possibly use that to justify the change. It was very bizarre. The changes have been very bizarre. The batting in general has been very poor. Smriti herself hasn't been amongst the runs. Jemmy has gotten off to starts in both the games, so has Harman, but neither of them have converted it to anything meaningful. Richard Ghosh has been the only one to score a 50, which speaks volumes about how badly the rest of them have performed. I have no clue what made India go back to Harleen Deol and Priya Punia in the first place, because Priya herself wasn't coming from the greatest of domestic tournaments. And Harleen Deol, मतलब यार तेजल हसब ने न्यूजीलैंड के अगेंस्ट अच्छा खेल के आ रही है. What, and she also played the A tour, and she did not too badly in the A tour, so she's got some experience playing at the Allen Border field. But they decide again in their infinite wisdom to field Harleen Deol. I have no clue what's happening. Sri Lanka wasn't a part of the squad. Something, of course, I've made no means about. But in terms of how the series has panned out, it's been very, very, very poor. Given that this is the ODI World Cup year with the World Cup happening in less than 10 months, yeah, this is not the kind of start you would want in the lead up. Let's hope in the third ODI at least they get their act together and are able to come up with a coherent performance.
Yeah, next, a quick one from you here, because India in the first ODI getting bundled out for 100 and then conceding 371 in the second ODI. So obviously both departments really kind of showing their weaknesses. And it's such an important week for women's cricket with the WPL auction, and for us because we've got a lot of good women's cricketers on our platform. How did you envisage these last two ODIs? And do you agree with what Akshay is saying there in terms of some of the team changes, Priya Punia at the top of the order, and even the others, Seema Thakur, for example, getting her nod?
I think a lot of it, as you know, Akshay rightly said, my worry is more on the planning as compared to the execution, because you came in, I think they came in less than a week prior to the first ODI. How are you going to prepare for an ODI in Australia by saying, okay, we'll just land there and we'll just adapt? You saw the rust in the first ODI. I don't know if Akshay has a reason. I want to know, why did India opt to bat first in that first ODI? What is that? Please explain to me, why would you bat first when you had very little time in that country? If you're taking Australia lightly, ke bhai, nahi hoga, bhai, they have more than enough paces. Talia Megra did not even bowl in that game. Maybe she will not bowl at all. You don't know. But the point is, how prepared are you? And as he said, the problem is the role clarity. How do you suddenly go to Richa Ghosh as opening option? And even if you did, you look at the first 10 overs, how did they play? And for Harman to come out in the press and then say that, we were positive, which positive is this? What kind of positive it is? Just sending someone who's aggressive to open doesn't mean you're positive. You have to show it as well in the game. So a lot of it feels very similar to the men's side of a few years back, that this is the group of players, we want to stick to them. But then at least give them a clear role and use them well. As Akshay said, you are dropping pacers in a place where pacers are dominating. So bhai, I have no idea what you're up to.
Yeah, 3 for Renuka, 5 for Shoot on that day. And it was just bizarre in terms of maybe one of those tosses where in Australia you kind of have it against you.
But if I'm not wrong, I read it somewhere, or did I just watch the press con? But it was more about them wanting to test their batters. The batters wanted to, get...
Of course.
So,
that's in hindsight, for sure. That's in hindsight. Guys, I have to steam along really quickly, and I think Akshay and Nix will have to take charge of the last two segments for themselves. Unfortunately, this is probably the first time in all of 57 episodes I've been doing this, but it's one of my friends' birthdays, so I don't want to leave her hanging. And what's to watch this week? Well, lots to go on in terms, and go check out Zimbabwe, Afghanistan, for example, South Africa, Pakistan starting. I mean, that's the first test, right? They're not playing T20s. Are they playing T20s before the tests? They're playing T20s, I think, right? I think they are. They are. Yeah, they are. So, look, this is what is going to happen from pretty much Tuesday to the next Monday, where we'll be back reviewing all of these games. So, of course, just a kind reminder to all you lovely people. Right, another reminder is the fact that I'll be kind of jumping off this podcast right now to go have a cracking meal and start my week on a high. So, Nikhil, Akshay, thanks, of course, for your time. You guys can move on to your quiz, Akshay, and, of course, take as many questions as you can from the 12th man, because there have been some belters. Like this video, guys, before we jump off. Please. Like I said, we have a tool to tell us exactly who's been liking and not liking it. So I know some of the people who genuinely comment watch our show, don't like it. I don't understand how that works. You can type all your questions, but you don't have the time to just like it. Come on, have some shame. And of course, have a lovely week ahead, all you guys. I'm out of here, but of course, hang in there because Akshay and Nikhil, over to you. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Chaliye, ek baar,
Badhiya.
yeah, thank you so much. But again, before we sort of wrap this up, there was, of course, the India-Australia series that India-Australia Women's Series that is happening right now. Guys, please do check out the first episode of the Women's Cricket Podcast. It's a new property that we started. Neha and I will be recording every week. We'll be talking about all things women's cricket, everything from the Bangladesh Island series to the South Africa Indian series, and a bunch of different things have been discussed there. Please do check that out. Show us some love. Do hit the like button there as well. Make sure to hit the like button here as well. Now, Nikhil bhai, last bit of chat before we move on to, of course, Howzzaat? WPL auction aa raha hai, boss. Ye hafte, it's by the end of this week. It's on the 15th of December, the coming Sunday. The auction list was released the day before. Interesting names. Are you a bit sad that bhai sirf 3 associate players hai? You thought there would be a few more names, but given the number of slots up for grabs, maybe it's fair.
Yeah, I think that is the catch that I have felt eventually. First reaction was, why so less? But then you can understand that teams have single-digit spots to fill. And even there, see, unfortunately, there will be some amount of biasness. 2-3 franchises will want just that one particular player and they'll fight over it. And others will say, no, मेरे को इसी country का player चाहिए, मेरे को ये country का player चाहिए. I feel it is an opportunity missed because it helps you grow the game. It brings more people to the tournament in terms of more associate players. Means you can field 6 of them, 5 of them in that order. कि भाई चलो हमारे पास 4 हैं, एक और को आप खिला, you can play in your side. But ठीक है, I am very less hopeful because I expected a captaincy change that hasn't happened yet. So मेरे hopes जो है वो काफी कम है. But maybe दीदी शायद injured होंगी तो I don't know. But all I just wish is some really good purchase of pacers because to me, I really still can't make sense of releasing Shabnam Ismail, and she going to Mumbai just makes them that much more stronger. But ठीक है यार, it's a lost battle. I can't keep going on it again and again.
Yeah, it's definitely a lost cause there. But like we said earlier, only 3 overseas players are a part of this edition of the WPL auction. There's not Isha Howzzaat. Isha Howzzaat is missing out. It is, of course, her teammate in UAE. It is Tirtha Satish, wicketkeeper batter. Then there's, of course, Sarah Bryson, another wicketkeeper batter from Scotland. Her sister misses out this time. She was a part of the Gujarat Giants setup last season. Unfortunately, he's not a part of the auction list as well. And then there's a 17-year-old Samaira Dharnidharka. That was a very surprise inclusion, to be honest. She's a pace bowling all-rounder. Again, not exactly the most easily available commodities in this part of the world. So it'll be interesting if a side actually goes for her. But Nikhil bhai, in terms of the names, are you looking forward to any names? Are there any players you're keeping an eye out on? Who do you think will be the most expensive player in the WPL auction?
Yeah, so after this auction, I don't want to take any names. क्योंकि ऐसे गए हैं players in terms of the rates. Maybe in the men's auction, maybe Rishabh was clearly obvious कि भाई वही नाम होगा. जहाँ पे because there are limited slots to fill, you could have an auction bidding war for anybody who they feel कि ये हमको तो चाहिए ही चाहिए. Now Mumbai released इसी warm. They might want a pacer who bats a bit. Now I don't know who they will target in terms of this is the guy, this is the person that we want to. So I really don't have a name that I think will be the obvious front runner. But Dharnidharka is someone that I'm looking forward to. I've picked her in a lot of my fantasy teams when I play because again she's someone who's taken wickets in bunches. If you've heard Jeet talk about her, he's written out as well on her quite a few times. So she's the one I want to look forward to, the associate players who are picked, because it really makes the joy that much better. Because someone like a Catherine Bryce, you saw her with Gujarat, if I'm not wrong. You see her in the WBBL as well. Very underused. She's batting so low down the order, it feels criminal कि भाई. But ठीक है, maybe you understand कि वो उनके देश का league है. They want to promote their talents, which is fair. But ठीक है, I would hope that people look for such options as well, because she's a good utility player to have. Scotland's best, so please use them.
It'll be interesting to see अगर future में देखने को मिलता है कि नहीं in terms of Catherine Price and the way she's used. Of course, this time around she isn't a part of the auction. Darshan asking us any reason why Catherine Price hasn't signed up. I expected her to be a big pick. She has signed up, Darshan, but she wasn't shortlisted by the teams. Yeah, exactly. So how the process works is players first register themselves, and then teams, based on their demand, based on their requirement, they send in a shortlist, and all the team shortlists are then compiled together, and players who aren't a part of any of the team shortlists are then discarded. So unfortunately, Catherine Rice wasn't a part of any of the team's shortlist, which means she won't be a part of the auction. What topic are you discussing now? It's a bit confusing. A good debate / Arun. We are discussing the WPL auction. It's happening on the 15th of December. On the same day, post the auction, we will be doing a review of it as well in the second episode of the Women's Cricket Podcast. So you can check us out Sunday 7 p.m. live. We will be back. We will be discussing about the India-Australia series that would have concluded by then, the auction, the proceedings, and whatnot. मेरे दिमाग में भी यही है. Deandra Doughton in my head, I think, will be the most expensive player because
there is a reason. There is a यार मतलब इतना तो भरोसा कर सकते थे कि मेरे को नहीं बोलना, तो अगर कोई नाम नहीं ले रहा हूँ, अगर मुझे धरनीधर का पता है तो डू यू थिंक मेरे को नहीं पता होगा, मेरे को
नहीं, ऑफ कोर्स, और हमें पता भी है कि आप क्यों नहीं बता रहे. लेट्स सी अगर आपकी साइड लेती है कि नहीं. Meanwhile, Darshan also went on to say that UP's team composition actually looks a bit better with Healy injured. But my question is, Zubir, Chamari has been playing in the recent past. It makes you wonder, let's say Healy isn't available, but Chamari herself hasn't really been performing well enough. So, Nikhil bhai, do you think UP will be bold enough to actually open with someone like Vrinda Dinesh and Shweta Sarawat, go for an all-Indian opening pair? There's Uma Chetri, there's also Kiran Navgire who can bat to 3. So they have enough options at the top. There's Poonam Khemnar as well, who's available. Do you think they will be bold enough to make such a call?
I'm slightly torn. I want one versus batter up top. It could be Grace. I have no problem. She did well in the WPL. And again, your expectations have to be according. If you have Grace guiding some like a Vrinda or Shweta at the other end, it helps. There hopefully will be one game where Grace and Kiran both take off. So that will just make that power play as much better, because before Dipti comes in, I would not rule out Chamari also starting, because see, with Chamari it's very interesting because sometimes she has phases where she looks like when will she score runs when she's playing franchise cricket, and then she turns up in a completely different avatar and you're not expecting her. But with her, you at least still get good overs of bowling. She's very smart and she's very gritty in that sense. The one day that you want a good 30 from her, if she can give you that, your job is done. To me, UP's problems lie a lot in getting consistent good starts. Some of their problems in the past, losing too many wickets too early. So again, Healy was a hit or a miss kind of player. Chamari has been one. At times, if she gets on a rut, she rarely gets those good scores. But I am hoping that the player that I want, ab to wo bahari hai, if she comes in, she slots in that middle order, that really frees up a lot of the batters higher up the order. You can use somebody like a Sophie Deepti better if that player comes in there. अब वो A player को A player ही रहने दो प्लीज. अब वो फुट गया तो भी मैं नाम नहीं ले रहा.
अच्छा ठीक है, अभी समझ आता है आरसीबी फैन होना कितना कठिन है जैसे आप बोल रहे हो, बट agree with you of course. We will let you hold on to that name and play your cards close to your chest, of course. I guess Nirana would fetch a decent price to fetch out that a premier India all-rounder who is a part of the red ball setup as well, isn't too bad herself in white ball cricket, is also captain in Railways right now. Let's see unka kya hota hai, which team actually goes after her. But in terms of course, the WPL,
I won't be surprised if UP take her and have another spinner. के पैसा चाहिए नहीं हमने को, छोड़ो सह लेंगे थोड़ा. पहला मेरा ही bowling करेंगे.
चलो देखते हैं क्या होता है वहां पे, of course. But that's that from the WPL auction chat. And guys, like we said, please make sure you tune in next week on Sunday, the 15th December, 7 p.m. sharp. We will be there reviewing the WPL auction and a bunch of other things that would have happened in the upcoming week. Also, good to great saying, gotta go. When's your next live in English? Every Monday, sharp 8 p.m. We will be here talking in English, maybe a bit of Hindi as well. Unfortunately, I tend to revert to Hindi, and that happens a bit casually. Beg your pardon. I hope you guys are able to understand that and catch that as well. But yeah, next Monday, every Monday, 8 p.m. sharp, we will be here doing our live shows. That's from, of course, the best of the rest. Now it is time for us to move on to my segment, of course. It feels a bit weird to call it my segment. It would have been better if Abneesh was here to say it's Akshay's segment. But it is, of course, what is it? It's Howzzaat. Kahan pe hai your stink? Yep, Howzzaat ki baat aa gayi. So, of course, we have a question every week that we ask you guys, and one lucky winner stands to win a cool 500 rupee Amazon voucher from us. What was last week's question? Here is last week's question. Since we were talking about the IPL Unsold 11, and there was still a lot of IPL auction chat going on last week, we thought of sticking to that theme. So the question was, who is the highest earning IPL player? Of course, player name and amount in the history of the tournament. This was the question. Very simple. The answer, of course, is former MI skipper and current India skipper Rohit Sharma. A lot of you got it right. In fact, probably all of you got it right. There were a couple of you who mentioned figures up to 2024. A couple of you included the 2025 figures as well. We've taken both into consideration. That's all right, because we knew that you guys were aware of the numbers. The correct answer, Rohit Sharma, 194 crores is what he's being paid, or he has been paid till the 2024 season. If you include next season's salary as well, which is 16.35 crores, the number comes up to about 210.9 crores. A lot of you got it right, so congratulations on that. But like always, just one lucky winner. And this time around, it's none other than a friend of our channel, Mr. Santosh Udupa. Been a while since we've seen him win a voucher, so congratulations on that. Like always, do DM us on Twitter, and our social media team will take care of it. Now it's, of course, time for this week's question. We saw Mitchell Starc do something this time around. Bhai Saab ne pehle ball pe Yashasvi Jaiswal ka wicket nikala tha. So that was the theme of this week's question. Outside Mitchell Starc, only one other bowler has taken a wicket on the first ball of a test match on 3 separate occasions. Very simple. Once again, Mitchell Starc has taken a wicket off the first ball of a test match on 3 occasions. And there's only one other bowler who's done this in the history of test match cricket. I want you guys to ID the player. Bonus points, a special shout out if that helps. If you guys are also able to identify what the funda is about that other bowler who's been able to do this. There's something very unique about that bowler's 3 dismissals. If you guys are able to identify that, then kudos to you guys. Of course, you all are very knowledgeable. That's something we all can't stop raving about. It's not just that we have such a loyal audience. We've also got an audience of such, I wouldn't say learned, but such knowledgeable cricket fans. It makes our jobs easier and tougher at the same time. Easier because we know even if we F up, you guys are there to correct us. Tougher because we know if we F up, we'll also get a lot of Fs and S's and B's and C's and all of that. But we're not complaining. We're here for you guys, of course, like always. And please make sure, guys, do not key in your answers here. Wait for the live stream to end. And please key in your answers in the main comment section at the end of the live stream to stay eligible. So that's it from the Howzzaat segment. Now it is time for you guys to air out your opinions, ask us your questions. Of course, we're talking about the 12th man segment. Yep, time for 12th man. So many questions asked. I mean, I've been trying my best to take all of them into account, or take most of them into account. Beg your pardon if we miss a few. Let's start from the beginning, I guess, or do we just take anything from the middle? क्या लगता है निखिल भाई, शुरू से शुरू करें या बीच में से ले? आप बताइए. You take a pick.
शुरू से शुरू करते. Easier to come down.
Alright, ठीक है. शुरू से शुरू करते हैं. अपने पास तो टाइम है. हम श्रीलंका में नहीं है, तो हम लोग लेते हैं questions. Let's start with this. Actually, Adan was asking this, or he did bring this up a lot of times. He goes on to ask, have you started backing or popularizing mediocrity? I mean, an Indian opener or a number 3 batter shouldn't be averaging in mid-30s, irrespective of how long he's been batting in a particular position. Fair shout, yeah, given that Rahul, Gill, to some extent, even Rohit Sharma in the recent past, Kohli in the recent past, they've all not had the greatest of numbers in red ball cricket. What do you make of this statement/question?
Yeah, again, the one thing that we have to keep in mind is the numbers that we are accustomed to are of times where they were good batting decks regularly. So to me, that is one of those very crucial points to remember, that batting in general, since the COVID times, has not been as easy as it was in the past, where you could get a few featherbirds in terms of proper roads, highways, and you could make runs, and suddenly you will feel, अच्छा मतलब runs तभी बनते थे. तो अगर आपको लगता है कि कोई 700 मार रहा है, 600 मार रहा है, तो वो swing seam हो रहा तब तो 700 नहीं मार रहा भाई. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to be okay, but it has to be somewhere in the middle that you understand. It has not been easy for people to start in this era. So if you're getting the context here, it has not been easy. Because, if you are in India, you're playing on rank turners. You're playing on decks जहाँ पे their par score in itself is 200. तो 200 के लिए फिर आप 50-60 कैसे बनाओगे? It is difficult batting conditions. So you are not going to consistently hit those big scores. And if you travel away, if there aren't roads, where are those big daddy hunters going to come from? And if you're going to come back to me by saying Jaiswal's example, my Perth on second day was very good to bat. It was doing bit, but it was still a very good deck to bat. So, of course, the expectations shouldn't be ke chalega 30 wala bhi ke Craig Brathwaite jaisa kar lo ke he's the best batter with 33 or 34 ka average. I'm not saying make it the standard, but the context has to be there that the numbers might not be what we usually are accustomed to. So, they may be lesser. Of course, we'll always want it that much more.
So just the follow-up question, because Ashutosh also sort of goes on to ask in a similar vein, given the bada player culture in our cricket, do you think we will see changes if we get booked in the rest of the series? We've been talking about how it could potentially be the last time we're seeing a couple of players, if not more, if they don't do well, or if India in general doesn't do well in this tour. Do you think that happening, Nikhil bhai?
See, what you have to remember is in our country, player kitna bhi bada ho, eventually वो board से बड़ा नहीं होता. And that is as good a sign that you want. Okay, if the board feels the player is bada, you will see him getting a backing. If he's not, it will be a random series where you will see things going pear-shaped. You saw that with Virat as well. Suddenly fell out of favor with the board and the selectors ke nahi karna. So that was very random. You did not see the succession plan being done, which we saw an extended one being done with MS and Virat at the helm ke. You clearly saw MS एकदम के जब तक मेरे को नहीं लगता कि विराट तैयार है तब तक मैं नहीं जाएगा. That isn't the case that you're going to see so often. So I do think there will be changes. What I don't know, we already heard about Gambhir not being a red ball coach after the New Zealand whitewash, but we haven't heard anything from him or about it after that. So it will change, because eventually you have to remember, even for the board, the wins matter. That is how they sell their entire cricket. So the wins will matter. If it is not as per their expectations, you will see those changes. What that is, anybody's guess.
It will be anybody's guess. I'm just trying to think who are the names that could potentially be playing the last series, if not tour. Given
actually, if you think all of the seniors could be playing the last series, for all you know. I mean, Jadeja to already 2 matches nahi khela hai, despite him being one of the better performers away from home. So it's not going to be as straightforward, and it will have to be who. See, just going back to the previous question where you saw somebody averaging less, but that is the punt that the management and the board has taken. He is our project. So we are happy to give him 5-6 years to lay thoda all time, but we think that you have a higher ceiling, so we'll back you. Jacob Bethel क्या है? Jacob Bethel का फर्स्ट क्लास नीतीश कुमार रेड्डी का एग्जांपल ले लो भाई. नीतीश कुमार रेड्डी का फर्स्ट क्लास एवरेज 22 का है, पर उसको बैटिंग करके देखा कि वो 22 का एवरेज वाला है नहीं. So everything will not always be black and white. So let's see how it eventually pans out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, because of course you can't. Numbers cannot be the be all and end all of selections or analysis. You always need to look at a player, understand if there are certain attributes that work for them. I'm almost using word for word what Mo Wobat had to say in that RCB video. Unfortunately, Avnish isn't part of this chat, but it was an interesting video that I did like what I had to hear of them. Of course, like always, I probably not agree with a few of those thoughts, but as long as there is clarity, there's a direction, there's a vision that they're going towards. That's all I want. That's all I need. Baki tum like we say, there's a reason why players themselves, why greats themselves have said, always focus on the process. Results will follow. It's all about the process. Once you set up processes in place, once you follow those processes, then you will see results naturally flow. And we've seen with RCB as much criticism as RCB gets, and most of it is also rightfully valid. But you cannot deny the fact that they have been the most successful side in this decade in terms of wins. That counts for something. I'm not saying it is equivalent to winning a trophy. Nothing will be equal to winning a trophy. Without a trophy, it doesn't mean a lot. but it still counts for something, and I'm all for that. I want to see that they have a process, they have something in place. So good to see that. Now, of course, let's take a few more questions. We did talk about SMAT and pitches and how there seems to be a trickle-down effect of those flatter pitches phenomena from IPL to SMAT. You would have Vasant asking us about that. If you give this flat, even Ranji pitches become flatter, how are youngsters then supposed to prepare for spicy pitches in India? Home or away? Avnish posed this question to the boys. Don't worry, Vasant, we've got you covered. But lagta kya, like, if Ranji Trophy also then starts becoming very flat, do you think, first of all, do you think there will be flatter pitches on offer in Ranji Trophy? And secondly, what do you think will be the cascading effects of that?
No, I genuinely hope they aren't. I don't think it is actually possible to have a Ranji Trophy with flat decks everywhere, because you have to remember Ranji Trophy, if you dive deeper into it, it's not just played at a couple of venues or couple of tens of venues. It's played across the country, and there are varied conditions. There are few decks where यहाँ पे शायद रन ज्यादा बनेंगे. Historically you thought of Saurashtra के भाई जडेजा 300 मारा है तो फ्लैट ही होगा. तो ऐसा नहीं है. You have a Lahali for every Saurashtra as well, where again, we had fights over it. Whoever is needed to bowl at 120 and they can get wickets. If that is the case, everybody would have taken wickets. So I think variety remains. Ranji Trophy, I don't think we'll see flat decks. Wild ball cricket, which is why I specified, the World Cup win has maybe freed up the pressure on the system. Ask people to be free. Ask people to play the way we want to. That's what England did. But what England have tried to do is they've trickled it down to the test format as well, which is something I hope India don't do. And actually, if you think about it, India's Ranji decks are better than their test decks. So it speaks a lot about how much India are serious about their domestic structure. May not be true for every venue, but as compared to what we have seen in recent past, sometimes you feel it is better to play on such decks because you'll grow your skills that way. So I, for one, don't think Ranji will be affected as much, and hopefully so, without putting any markers on.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we do get to see something on that. Before we take a couple of other questions, this is an interesting one. I don't know if Nikhil Bhai has had the chance to read up on this. I've not really had a lot of chance. Injustice, can you please talk about Zimbabwe selectors and, of course, racism, nepotism? I mean, these are terms we hear everywhere. Not to belittle or demean or take away credit from what you guys are doing or what the Zimbabwe Cricket Board is doing. Players like Campbell, Welch, who average 40, haven't been selected. White players aren't selected. I have absolutely no clue, in all fairness. Truth be told, the only update I have from Zimbabwe cricket is that Ben Curran, who also happens to be Sam Curran and Tom Curran's younger brother, has made it to the Zimbabwe national side. Apart from that, I have absolutely no clue. Nikhil bhai, have you heard? Are there any conversations happening around this?
No, I'll definitely read up on this because I don't think it has come to mainstream. Agar aaya hota to already most of us would have known, because again we see that much cricket, but maybe this is something to look into and figure if there is more to this.
So, we have definitely taken cognizance of your comment. We will try and read up on this. Unfortunately, right now, we don't really know much of it. To be honest, Zimbabwe haven't been playing a lot of cricket for us to keep track of it constantly, but we will definitely try and read up on this and give us our thoughts, give us our opinions, give out our opinions, if any, in the next episode of M&A. Of course, Ajay also saying, I thought we taken this. Nikhil, had we taken this or we hadn't?
No, I don't think so.
Let's just take this. Ajay, of course, has a rant. New Zealand earlier this year played on green bowler-friendly wickets versus Australia, and now are playing on much better surfaces versus England. Why are Australia always given worse pitches? Even in India, England got the better hand. Agree with this? Disagree with this? Do you think there's a pattern, or is it just coincidence, or is it nothing?
It could be anything, na? I don't know. By worse pitches in India, though. I think South Africa got the worst of them. As long as jitna maine dekha from when I have started watching, clearly South Africa got the worst of it in 2015. Uske se zyada khatarnak maine nahi dekha. And in terms of, and that is something that every team does, no? In terms of selectively picking wickets that are helping. Why do you think this Aussie tour is arranged? Perth, pink ball, Gaba. Why? You have your answer.
Yep, that is true. That is true. I mean, we all had always spoken about how the schedule has also been planned in such a way that it is going to be tricky, but that's why not a lot of people, including me, weren't giving India a lot of chances. But good on India for being able to overcome all those barriers and win that first test in Perth. Let's hope they are able to go 2-1 up at the end of the Brisbane test. That is starting from the 14th of December, which is, of course, this Saturday. So lots to look forward to there as well, and probably another episode of cricket.com live. So Hindi mein, of course, Nikhil Bhai, Vikas, Han Somesh will be chatting a lot more things about the third test, what to expect, players that could come in, and stuff like that. I guess that's it from us in terms of the 12-man segment and the questions. I know there were a few questions that we probably have missed out on. It's just that there are like 400, 500 comments for us to take from. So again, really sorry if we haven't been able to take some of your questions, some of your comments. We will definitely take this. Surendra Singh speaking about, I'm assuming this is what he's been doing on behalf of RR, because he clearly seems to be a loyal RR fan. For every hat-trick, 100 meals will be donated. For every 12 dot balls, a meal will be donated. If there's a 5-wicket haul, that will be celebrated with a cake being cut amongst 20 kids. And of course, the meal will be given. Surendra, if you've actually come good on this, then fantastic, man. That's all that matters. Cricket is just a vehicle. If you've been able to use that to help kids, help people, nothing like it, because yeah, you've been doing a fantastic job. Keep up at it, and yeah, fingers crossed you'll be able to do more such great things come the next cycle. Let's hope RR is also able to do such. RR is able to do well on the field so that you can keep up off the field. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure, first of all, you guys check out the next episode of the Women's Cricket Podcast. I'll come out next Sunday, or the coming Sunday, the 15th of December. A day later, on the 16th, we'll be back. MNL, Avnish will be back in Bangalore. So all of us folks will be chatting about all things cricket. Cricket yet again. Until then, goodbye. Take care. I don't know what else to say, so I'll just end it at that. Closing thing kahan hai.